Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Front Porch Talk this morning on She Walks His Way. It is super cloudy and raining today, and it's beautiful. As promised, from the previous video, I was going to share a testimony, but also about Psalm 37 when it says, Psalm 37 verse 4, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. And this is something that the Lord really had been speaking to me on about doing and sharing, because a lot of times we can take this out of context and put it in a way where we are saying, oh, God will give us everything we want. Kind of seeing him as a genie, which is very heartbreaking because that's not who God is. We don't just wish upon a star and boom, bam, we get things. That's not how it works. I want to share about this because this is something, again, like the Lord has told me to share on about what it truly means. And does he really give the desires of our heart? And the answer is yes and no. And it doesn't contradict his character, because this is who he is. He's a faithful God. And what he says he will do, he will do. But there is a but of we have to put him first. He has to be first in our life. We have to fear the Lord in reverence and awe first. We have to delight in him first. We have to want him first before our heart's desire. Because if we want anything else, our dream, our passion, our desire, other than God himself, that is strictly forbidden. That's an idol. That is putting our dream, our plan, our heart's desire above God. And God is a jealous God. And he wants no other God before him. So yes and no, he does give things to his beloved children because he delights in us, and we ought to delight in him. So I'm going to be reading in my New King James, and it says Psalm 37, starting with verse 4, and I'm going to stop at verse 5. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Verse 5, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. These two go together. Sorry, I just saw like 5 geese just flying over almost my head. But we ought to put him first. Commit our way to him, trust in him. We are to delight ourselves in the Lord first, desiring him, wanting him, hungering after the Lord. And then he will give us the desires of our heart when it's aligned correctly in his will. His will is to give us good treasures. And I'm not talking about stacking treasures on earth. I'm talking about in heaven. So I'll give you a testimony. This is something that the Lord did tell me to share, and why it correlates with this verse. So for so long, for so many years, as far as back as I can remember, I had my own plan. I mean, we all have our own plans, right? Plans of how we want our life to be, how we want it to look. No, Chase, go over there. Of how we want it to look and be. And we can plan our course, plan our way, but if it's not, it's never our way. It's never our plan. The Lord knows our plans. He knows and determines our steps. I wanted a son for so long. This was way before I knew Christ, okay? I wanted to have a son and then a daughter, and I had this plan of how my life was going to be. That was not the case. The Lord was like, hold on, daughter, that's not how it's going to be. I was idolizing my own life. I was idolizing my dream, my own plan, and sketching it out of this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to look. And it's not. A lot of the times we do that. We do that not knowing we are putting that above God, making that God. And I remember there was a lot of things that the Lord had to uproot in my heart. And one of the things he started beginning when he said that, I think it was in 2015 when the Lord said that I would need to say yes to my husband on moving somewhere that would be far away. It would be like 6-7 hours away from home. And I thought, what? I thought, this would be our home forever. And he said no. He said, you need to say yes. And I was like, okay. 2 weeks later, my husband says he got a job offer, but we would have to move. And I already knew because I had been with the Lord, and the Lord already told me. So I said, okay, yes, that's fine. I will go with you. So we moved, and this is where it all began. When we moved, we lived in Corpus. And in Corpus, the Lord really started stripping my heart of things that was in there that needed to go. And one of the things was how marriage is supposed to look after God. And 2, the idol that was in my heart of wanting a son. And that was buried. So I completely forgot about that, about wanting a son. I really I forgot. Because I was already going into our 3rd child. She was barely born, and we moved. And then the Lord showed me that was buried in, and it needed to be stripped out. In Corpus in 2016, he showed me a dream. And we were standing along the beach with all of my family, the little kids, and a little boy was at the end. And I was like, Lord, why are you showing me this? Well, I left that alone. I never messed with it. Only to come to find out in 2018, I already had our 4th daughter. 2018 came. We were back home. We moved to a new house that the Lord said we needed to move to. And more stripping began. And this is where he said, okay, this needs to go. And then I questioned. I was like, Lord, but you gave me a dream in Corpus that I was going to have a son. And then he showed me, but you're desiring that more than me. And I thought, how? How am I desiring that more than you when I'm seeking you? Only to realize that each time I became pregnant, I was hoping it was a boy. And that's when he started showing me. And I thought, oh my goodness, Lord. And I remember being in my living room floor, on my carpet, on my knees, weeping, uncontrolled. I could not stop my weeping. I was so grieved in a way that I was like, Lord, how did I not see that? How did I not see that that was an idol? How can I not know that? I thought it was just, off. All this to say is that the Lord truly does want to give us the desires of our heart. When it's aligned in his will, we have to want him first before anything in this world, before wanting marriage, before wanting kids, before wanting a bigger house, because we can idolize wanting a bigger house. We can idolize wanting to homestead. We can idolize wanting a son or a daughter. We can idolize a job. We can idolize wanting more money. We can idolize our own plan if we are not careful. This is strictly why the word says to be careful and on guard and be vigilant. And because of that reason, our heart's desire can easily override and be sitting on the throne of our hearts rather than God himself. So in that year, 2018, the Lord was stripping that, and that was hurting me so much. But I was so grateful that he was stripping so much in my heart and stripping that. And then I finally said, I remember the exact words, and I said, Lord, I am okay if I never have a son. Truly, and I was truly at peace. I was not wrestling or wishing or wanting or hoping. My hope was starting to begin in each pregnancy wanting a boy, and then my hope switched to just my hope in Jesus, my hope in eternal salvation in Jesus and him alone, and every morning just desiring him and wanting him and him alone, and wanting to be with the Father, him and him alone. And I was truly at peace and okay with not having a son. I was okay with where I was, not wanting more of anything else, but wanting more of him. And in that year, it was so stripping and so Holy Spirit filled that I knew everything that I went through was for a reason. And every stripping was for a reason. He had to realign my desires so that he can properly give my heart's desires. And then there was testing. There was some testing there. I began to hear other people saying they had dreams of me having a boy and becoming pregnant that year, that I would have a boy. And I remember the Lord telling me, test every spirit. And I was like, Lord, we've already dealt with this. And then there was the year that my sister became pregnant and she had a son, or she was telling me she was going to have a son, a boy. And I was like, and the enemy was really at work in this. He was wanting me to despise everything. He was wanting me to hate everything. And I remember, sorry, I'm trying not to cry, but I just, I remember missing out on my sister's gender reveal. Not because I had anything against her. I love my sister so much that I had to miss it because I was wrestling with the Lord, like, Lord, wait, hang on. The enemy was really, really poking at me. And I remember hearing the lies and accusations saying, see, God isn't real. Look, he didn't give it to you and he gave it to her. And I was just so heartbroken, like in a way of like, God, you gave me a dream again, because I forgot to tell you this. God gave me another dream before he told me that I would have a son. Let me backtrack, and I'm so sorry. I should have said this before my sister became pregnant. In that year of 2018, the Lord had to strip all of that in me. Sorry. I had to pause for a second. In 2018, the Lord was stripping all that in me. And while I was truly at peace with it, I really, truly was okay. Then the Lord gave me a dream or a vision while I was on my living room floor, pouring my heart out to the Lord on a different matter. And he showed me where, actually, yes, he was showing me that, reminding me of that dream that he gave me in Corpus, where there was a little boy at the end. And that little boy looked like my current son, Leon. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Well, then, within that week, he gave me a vision. I was in the kitchen, and I went into the pantry to grab something. Then I went in there to grab something, and when I grabbed it from the pantry, I had a vision, and I saw my husband carrying a little boy, but this time he looked like my husband. And he was in the dining room, the breakfast room, the breakfast area, and he turned around and he was holding a little boy with a red shirt, and he looked like my husband. And I thought, Lord, okay, these are two, what in the world, what's happening? Because the first dream was in Corpus, and there was a little boy standing in overalls, and he was white complected. And this one, he showed me. I didn't think anything of it. Instead, I just said, Lord, I surrender that vision to you. I don't know what that was about, but I'm surrendering it to you. And then that's when I found out my sister was pregnant, and she was having a boy. And I was just wrestling with the Lord, like, why would you tell me these dreams and visions, and people telling me they had a dream of me, calling me, messaging me, texting me? And it was like my daughter had a dream and a vision, a best friend of mine and her daughter, and then another friend of mine, and then my cousin. So I had like 5 different people telling me, and I was like, Lord, I don't understand. I was like, why is this happening? And then my sister's pregnant, so maybe it was for her. And I remember missing out on her. Sorry, the phone's shaking. It's because it's kind of cold and it's like raining and windy, so I'm trying to be still with it. But and I remember just crying. Like, I was praying blessings over her and her baby, and protection, and praying for the Holy Spirit to fill her and the baby. I had no evil intention towards her. I had none of that. I really, truly wanted the best for her. But I had to miss out because the enemy was really poking at me. And I thought, Lord, and I heard the Lord telling me to stay with him there. And I did. I stayed home, and I was just weeping on my floor, on my carpet floor, and just praying to the Lord, Lord, I desire you. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what this is. And then he started showing me a spiritual warfare, because God gave me a promise long ago that I would have a son. And the enemy was trying so hard to steal that promise and use everyone around me, because then I had another cousin sharing how she received the promise from the Lord. And this time it was the opposite. And I was like, Lord, what is happening? And he was showing me the enemy is poking at you. He's trying to say, I will not come to fulfillment, to giving you your heart's desire. Your heart's desire is in me. But first, you know, this is where the enemy wants to do. He wants to poke at us, right? And he wants us to give up hope, or stop following God, or thinking that God is not true to who he says he is, and he is. So in that year of just wrestling with the Lord, 2018, 2019, and just him cleansing my heart out, he then told me that I would endure long suffering. I remember he said, okay, you're going to endure long suffering. And I thought, Lord, what? But all this to say is that the Lord does truly give the desires of our heart when we first delight and desire him. He never wants to give us something that's going to idolize or be first in our life before him. He is a jealous God, and he wants to be first and foremost in his life. So I will tell you this, that when the Lord gives you a promise, the enemy is going to come after it. And he will use anyone around you to have you want to be jealous, to give up your promise, to not wage war in spirit, to not hold on to the promises of the Lord. He will want you to envy others. He will want you to just have a bitter heart. But if we submit to God and we keep seeking and delighting in him first, that's the true delight. That's the true desire of our heart. And so fast forward, we did end up, the Lord was faithful to his promise. He gave us twins, 2 boys, and they were of the dream. Leanne was the first one of my dream that he gave me in Corpus Christi. when he gave me the dream and he was standing at the beach with us. The second vision when he gave me in our new house in 2018, when my husband was holding a son that looked just like him, that is our Ethan Matthew. The Lord showed me, and I just thought it was so amazing. But first, before he could give me that, I had to truly desire him and want him and be okay with not having a son, because he is not going to give us something that's going to sit on the throne of our hearts. He wants us to have our desires and delight first. So if we are wanting a child so bad, he wants us to be okay and at peace with, okay, Lord, if I never desire, or if I never get to have a child, that is okay. Because you are the ultimate one that I should want. You are the ultimate one. Though you know how my heart feels, I will not keep planning and trying to plan to have a child. This is what he was showing. And this is what it means by he will give us the desires of our heart when we first seek him, the kingdom of God. Then all these things will be added unto us. But first, we need to desire him and delight in him first. Wanting him, loving him, reverencing him, and being okay with not having what we want. Really, truly. Not despising other people. Not envying other people. Not being jealous of what they have, and truly being at peace with just having Jesus, because he's the ultimate one that we should have and want. He's the ultimate goal, and what a beautiful gift it is to have Jesus, the ultimate giver. And then we get to treasure and have treasure the gift even more, the blessing that he gives us, the desire, still knowing that it's not our idol, knowing that it's not sitting on the throne of our heart, because Jesus is still sitting on the throne of our heart. God is, because we still delight in him and seek him above anything and above anyone. So that is what. And then also in verse 5, commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. So after you first delight and desire the Lord first, he will bring it to pass. When you commit your way to him, walk in his ways, obey his commands, reverence him, love him with everything. It's starting to pour and get really windy, so I'm going to have to cut this. But this is what it means. And it will come to pass when we hold fast to the word of the Lord. When we hold fast to the word of the Lord, trusting in his ways always, and believing that his promise will come to fulfillment, and waging war in the spirit. And that will be another video that I'll make later, because I feel, but I am being led to share on how do we wage war in the spirit when we're given a promise and yet the enemy is poking at you all around you. How then can you discern and trust the spirits? How can you wage war and hold on to the faithfulness of the Lord? That will be for the next video. But I just wanted to share this with you, that yes, indeed, the Lord does give us the desires of our hearts, but first we need to desire him. And not just seek him because, okay, I'll seek you and then you'll give me what I want. No. Really, truly admiring the Lord and everything that he is. Not because of what he can give you, but because of who he is and what he has done for us by dying on the cross, experiencing the wrath of God that we deserve, so that we may have life in him. When we truly grasp the delight in the Lord, when we truly desire just him and him alone, and say, Jesus, if all I have is you, if I've lost my home, I've lost my family, if everything is stripped away from me, and as long as I have you, I am good. And you really must be truly at peace with that, and really desire that. That is the desire. That is delighting in him, meeting him in his word, and loving him. because knowing that he loved you first. So friend, is there something that is really etched upon your heart? Is there something really that is taking root in your heart that you keep just thinking about and dwelling about and just dreaming about and meditating on about more than God himself? Bring it to the Lord. Bring it to the Lord. And know that the Lord desires to have you delight in him. And what a beautiful, beautiful gift that is, knowing that we get to be called beloved. Beloved. All right, friends, I hope that this encourages you. I hope that you just meditate on that word, Psalm 37, 4-5. And knowing that the Lord really, truly desires to give you the desires of your heart when we first desire and delight in him. Wanting him more than our own desire, our own plan, our own agenda. Because we can plan like, I'll have a kid at this age, I'll be, moved at this place or whatever. Instead, we can submit and surrender our plans to the Lord and say, Lord, I surrender my plan and everything that I want to you, because I should only want you and you alone. Alrighty, friend, I hope you'll have a wonderful and beautiful day. I'm praying blessings over you. I'm praying that the Lord will just speak to your heart and that you will just love and adore him and commit all your way to him, trusting in him, desiring him, and delighting in him with every ounce of you. Have a great day. Until next time.